first opportunity we've had since the election to chat with our Calhoun County Treasurer, Brian Wensauer, and he's with us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Richard. How are you this morning?
Great. Thanks for being here today. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
On your post. And actually, right to work, right? Because we are immediately concerned about property owners and property taxes. And with those concerns come some clarifications and information that is needed for those who might be behind in such taxes.
That is correct.
Yeah. What's the lay of the land with this, Brian?
Well, a lot of people don't realize that if they don't pay their taxes to the local jurisdictions, that's city, townships, villages, and et cetera, the tax rolls are brought over to the county. Now it's the county's responsibility to make sure that the taxes are collected in a proper manner. One of the things that a lot of people start getting worried about is they may forget about to pay the taxes, and all of a sudden they get a letter from the county treasurer's office saying, we're going to take your property if you don't get down here and pay your taxes on time. There are some great programs that we work with, not only through the treasurer's office, but we have some help that's from local areas in the Calhoun County to make sure that people can get their taxes paid.
Yeah, if you sort of put yourself in this situation for a second and think about it, anybody probably can realize, boy, that letter comes, and if there's a hardship there, it scares you, and people have a tendency to shut down.
That is correct.
Yeah. And your point is, don't do that.
Yes, don't do that. But it's sometimes, especially with elderly people, taxes get put in a drawer.
Yeah.
They don't have an automatic pay, which there is available. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't realize that you can set up your escrow accounts with your mortgage company. Make sure those taxes get paid.
Right.
Take that advantage if you have it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, and you're elderly and you have children, make sure that your children know about taxes that when they come due, so that they don't end up in the collection mode. Last thing we want to do is take that home.
Right, and we'll talk about that when we come back in just a minute. You don't really want to be a landlord, right?
That is correct.
Okay, we'll talk about that more in just a moment with the Calhoun County Treasurer, Brian Wensauer, coming up. 95.3 WBCK. We're here with the Calhoun County Treasurer, Brian Wensauer, reminding folks that if you do have a hardship in paying your taxes, the Calhoun County Treasurer's Office does grant hardship extensions, but there is a deadline, and we'll tell you about that. You need to apply by that deadline, so we'll discuss that. You're talking about how a lot of us pay our taxes, and that is by virtue of the escrow account through our mortgage company. I like it because I don't have to think about it. They do it, and it's done. But there are a couple of cases, at least, where that doesn't happen. One of them is if your house is paid for, then you've got to remember to pay that bill. Do you find that much of the time folks who don't have mortgages and thus escrow accounts then are having to remember themselves, and that's where the problem is?
Most generally, during the recession time, there was a lot of it, of course. Do you want to have food on your table, or do you want to pay your insurance or pay your taxes?
Yep.
Some people know that they can have a little bit of leeway. The thing that they don't realize is when the taxes do come over, we start adding on special assessment fees by state statute. It's not that we want to add them. It's a statute that says we have to make whole all of the cities, the townships, and the villages. So you're losing money if it comes over to us.
Right.
So try to make sure you get that paid before that due date. And like I said, before it comes over, there's help also. Make sure that you look into that help.
Well, let's talk about that. First of all, as it relates to these hardship extensions, what constitutes a hardship?
It could be anything from health. Let's say that they've got some extensive bills that have piled up. Let's take facts here on the Affordable Care Act. We're getting higher deductibles. We're getting more co-pays. Money is getting tighter. Wages are not going up in relationship to health care. I mean, open the newspaper and you'll find that out. So most of it comes in from anything from medical to maybe one of the partners in the home maybe has been laid off. Let's look at the cereal industries here in the county.
Sure. Yeah.
And the restaurants that have closed. I think there's been 4 or 5 just recently. Mm-hmm. Those people are now have a hardship. These things we understand, and this is what we want to work with. We have some programs, like I said. All they've got to do is contact us, and we're there to help you. We'll make sure that you keep your home.
So a hardship extension must be applied for by the 15th of March, so
Correct.
about 4 weeks yet for that.
It's sneaking up on us.
Yeah. So all it takes is someone who knows they're not going to be able to pay that to constitute a hardship. Maybe there, as you've said, there's been some other demand on their finances that's
Correct.
caused that. So they just need to apply for that somehow.
Right. And they just come by the office there in Marshall, and our staff will definitely sit down with them, talk to them, try to figure out what we can do. Mm-hmm. Maybe an extension. It may be working with another group that has some financing available. A lot of people think that the millage that we receive through the veterans is available to pay the taxes. That's not true. That's one of the things I do want to mention.
Yeah.
That is a tax collected, and we can't pay taxes with taxes. So one of the things, and I'm a veteran, as you well know.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to get across that a lot of people come in that are veterans and say, well, can I use this millage and have that pay my taxes? No, but it can help you with other things. So do reach out to the veterans group through the county, and that county millage is really an awesome thing for veterans that are in need.
And obviously there are other options too,
definitely.
which is the point today, that if you're not going to be able to pay that, don't run and hide, that you're willing to help, and there are ways to help. And we'll articulate how you do that again here before the program is over. What if someone has a hardship for, say, a second year or something like that? Is there there could be a domino effect going on.
There's
here.
a definite domino effect.
Yeah.
Because usually what happens is you've got your first year of taxes that are your village or your city, and then it comes over, and then you have an additional year, and then the third year. After that, that's when the tax man cometh and we take the property, and we don't want that to happen. So that time clock starts, and make sure that, if at all possible, make sure that those taxes get paid before that third year, because that's when litigation starts, and it gets very difficult at that point because you've accrued some very high taxes. Mm-hmm. Penalties have been added to it. It gets very hard to pick up after that. But we do have some additional programs at that point that, again, we don't want your property.
Yeah.
So if you qualify for some additional ones through the Treasurer's Office, again, that's what our staff is for. We have an excellent, excellent staff. I was very, very pleased when I came in. Everybody there has been outgoing, helping me. I've been telling everybody, I'm in Treasurer 101 class.
Yeah.
I'm learning from the staff. These people are awesome. I am very, very pleased with everybody. They're giving their best to the customers that are coming up, calling in on the phone. The empathy, that is one of the things that I've really pointed out, and I've noticed our staff has empathy. Mm-hmm. So all we need to do is just don't be scared. Come in, talk to us. We're all open there to help you.
Well, and if you put yourself in your mind in that sort of a situation for a moment, you owe money, it's the government, you expect that you're going to be potentially chastised in that kind of situation. You're saying, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
We're there to help. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute with the Calhoun County Treasurer, Brian Wensauer. 95.3 WBCK. A couple of statistics here as it relates to hardship extensions. So the deadline for paying the 2014 delinquent taxes, interest, and fees that have accrued is March 31st. So this is what you were referring to, Brian, that as time goes on,
that clock is ticking.
Right. So if you are 3 years behind, that's the limit. So some folks need to catch up that 2014 in March of this year in order to do that. Last year, of course, it was the 2013. Yeah, and the Treasurer's Office last year granted 105 hardship extensions and worked with 84 families to set up payment plans. And that's a pretty big number. That is to say, you're ready to help, and that illustrates that you are.
We are willing to help.
And that's a good point that we really haven't talked about, is that the way you approach dealing with this, the way these programs deal with it, it turns into a payment kind of situation, doesn't it?
That is correct.
Yeah. All right. So you help through that. So you'll want to apply, and you need to do that. If you know you're not going to be able to pay your taxes, you've got to do that, apply for that by March 15th, which is only 4 weeks away. And don't forget, there are programs for various stages of delinquency with taxes. So there's likely to be something that the Treasurer's Office can look at. So you said when folks become known to your office, it's a kind of a consultative situation, isn't it?
Correct, yes. And we do send out letters, and we try to make sure that everybody knows that their taxes haven't been paid.
Yeah.
And so we try to make sure that that letter gets to them. If it comes back, then we try to follow up some other way.
Mm-hmm. Right, and somewhere in there try to convey that they'll be consulted and not and not looked down upon.
Correct.
They're trying to deal with this situation. Okay. Overall, is your sense that this situation, as you've examined this coming into office, is the situation improving, would you say?
It's been improving, actually, for the last year or so.
Good.
The percentage has dropped. It's continuing to drop. I think it's based on the economy, as you well know.
Yeah.
As the economy grows, people start having more income, being able to buy more things, pay their taxes, do more things. I'm hoping that continues, in the future.
Yeah. And, of course, if what you don't want to happen happens and you assume a responsibility for that property because taxes haven't been paid, this is a land bank situation then, or eventually?
Well, a lot of people don't understand the difference between the Treasurer's Office and the land bank.
Yeah.
First off, the land bank is not part of the county. They're a separate organization started by the state of Michigan. Actually, in the United States, one of the first two states was Michigan and Ohio, starting the Michigan Land Bank, Ohio Land Bank, and then we formed the Calhoun County Land Bank. There's not land banks in every county.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize that. What happens is the property reverts to the county. At the end of the year, we don't hold on to it. We actually deed it over to the land bank. And then the land bank tries to see if they can market it, or in a lot of cases, it may be a piece of property that needs to be demolished. And that's where we pull in the funds through the land bank, which they have gotten some grants to actually take down some of these homes. And that's another nice part. If you look around the county, we're getting more and more of those homes that are dilapidated, ones that tear down the infrastructure of where you live in your neighborhood. We're getting those taken care of, and those properties are being either sold or somebody purchased them for another home or something like that. So,
nevertheless, it's a responsibility you'd rather not have.
That is correct. And we don't. We make sure that the county doesn't own it at the end of the year. They're transferred. But we do try to sell them. The county does actually try to sell the properties, first off. We have an auction. We try to collect the minimum bid of whatever the taxes that are owed at that time. Then it goes to a second bid if they don't sell. And then we kind of group everything together and try to sell it in that. And then if that doesn't sell, that's when it reverts to the land bank. And the land bank is something that we're hopefully trying to get more information to our shareholders out there, that what the land bank does. And a lot of people really don't understand. I was one of them. I have to admit, before the election, I didn't really understand the land bank and how it worked. I have a better appreciation of that now. And I've always been in favor of land banks. but I'm even more in favor of it now that I understand it and we get the word out.
Right. And try to put those properties back on the tax rolls.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So if you have a hardship paying your taxes and you want to take advantage of hardship extensions, the application needs to be in by March 15th. You can call the treasurer's office and get that ball rolling. What's the number, Brian?
And that's 269-781-0807. We're there to help you.
781-0807. Calhoun County Treasurer Brian Wensauer, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
We'll stay in touch. Thank you.